You're listening to Goldblock Career, your podcast for helping you sort things out. In today's episode, we'll be talking about one of the most important skills you can develop in your life: public speaking. Being able to transmit ideas. And of course, how to cope with the fear that comes with it. This might be your ultimate guide for understanding public speaking, so stay tuned until the end. Out of all the phobias out there, arachnophobia, fear of spiders, claustrophobia, fear of confined spaces, nyctophobia, fear of the dark, you name it, the fear of public speaking, also known as glossophobia, is the number one fear in the world, according to the National Institute of Mental Health. It affects 3 out of 4 people that suffer from speech anxiety. Public speaking is the greatest fear that people have, even greater than the fear of death itself, which is quite ironic. According to the Corporate Recruiters Survey, in which more than 600 employers were involved, they found that the top skills recruiters look for are oral communication at the number 1 spot and presentation skills at the number 4 spot, with management skills at the bottom of the list. It has also been proven that people who are unable to speak publicly experience wage reductions compared to those who are able to more or less speak in public. So, how do you improve public speaking? Let me first tell you a short story. Demosthenes, a man born in ancient Greece during the 4th century BC, was once faced with having to speak in public. He suffered embarrassment and humiliation while speaking in public in front of a crowd. They criticized his monotone and boring speech. This completely destroyed him. So, what did he do? He went on to shave half of his hair to avoid going to the outside, built an underground cellar under his house, and spent 3 full months in solidarity, practicing his speech every day in front of a shield that reflected his figure, just like a mirror. He became to be known as one of the greatest orators of his time. What did he do? Practice odiously. Okay, this might not be very realistic to do in our day and age, but it is an example of the power of practice. What do people usually say when we ask them that we're nervous speaking in front of others? Drink water and breathe in and out. We are advised to just breathe in order to help us calm ourselves from the anxiety of stage fright, to calm ourselves from a rapid heartbeat, our minds going blank, stuttering, awkward pauses, and so forth. Also to drink water to avoid a dry mouth and choking up. However, we are actually never told how to breathe. We usually breathe using our upper chest area. But what we really need to do is to breathe from our diaphragm, the area close to your stomach. There are lots of exercises to help you to do this. The next time you take a deep breath, just try to take it from your diaphragm. Your number 1 task as a speaker is to transfer into your listeners' minds the extraordinary gift of an idea. In the midst of billions of interconnected neurons, there is one space where a few million gather together, creating a certain structure or symbol that represent a single idea. An idea is essentially a pattern of information that helps you to understand and navigate the world. While speaking, that symbol is being recreated into the minds of every listener. In other words, it is being teleported into the minds of the listeners. Focus on one idea and have secondary ones linking to that main idea. Give people a reason to care to listen. Use familiar language and serve others. make your idea worth sharing. Once you begin with your speech, you need to change your perspective to give to others. Show up to give. Whatever it is, something you know, something you've tried, something people need to hear. It is normal to feel anxious. This isn't bad per se. It is an indicator that you care for what you're about to do, and you want it to be done well. It is the possible outcomes that scare you. Fear of failure, fear of humiliation, of being laughed at, and much more. We often overthink about these negative aspects. In reality, the sense of ridicule does not exist. What exactly is it? We are humans. We make mistakes. There is no sense of ridicule if you're trying to do your best. We're constantly thinking about what people are thinking of us. Switching that to thinking about what we can give to people and focusing entirely on the value without the need to receive anything in return, you will undoubtedly receive. You might not receive a standing ovation or something of the sort, but you will receive the overwhelming sensation of community, warmth, and appreciation in the form of applauses. So, unless you aren't human, you'll feel nervous at the beginning of your speech. Some hide it better than the others, and others are just better because of all the hours they put into it. The moments of humiliation, feeling of not wanting to be there and just running off home, failures, trial and errors, essentially all the time spent on doing something you dread. That is incredibly courageous and difficult to do. Sacrificing your scarce free time to face your fear instead of going to enjoy yourself. That iron will is what makes you better at speaking in front of others. The key is to understand that you are feeling nervous and that it is normal. Just welcome it. You've probably heard a million times that all you need to do is to practice. The dreaded practice makes perfect. Something you already know very well. The problem with that statement is that it isn't tackling the deeper roots of this fear. It is the mere outcome. What you need to focus on is how to get to that outcome, the journey or the process. Again, it all boils down in doing things that nobody else wants to do, not even yourself. Sacrificing time to practice half an hour in your home, preparing a speech, writing and rehearsing. Apart from listening to videos, podcasts or keynote speakers on how to improve, useful tips, even this very podcast, what you really need to do is to start doing. So, after listening to some guy or gal rambling on how to get better on public speaking, and after taking notes about the tips, don't worry about that part as I always do a brief overview at the end of the podcast. After all that, you need to disconnect. Close your laptop, phone, and prepare to use these techniques. Give yourself half an hour to start practicing by yourself and see what works best for you. Take notes, record yourself, talk to yourself. Use anything to help you with your presentation. If you prefer having slides, make them visual with minimal wording to not distract the audience. So the first step you need to take before anything else is that you need to get into a Zen mode and write down your speech to get yourself comfortable with it. Read, rehearse, and repeat. Some people overwhelm themselves doing this for hours, trying to memorize it in a single day. But what we know is that this is clearly not the best way of practicing public speaking. If you have an important presentation or speech you have to give yourself time. A week, 2 weeks, or even a month. Whatever time you need to practice depending on the length and importance of the presentation. If you're going to present something to your boss, or if you're going to present it on a stage, or even on one of those famous TED Talk events, this will take more time to practice. If you're doing it for school or university purposes, or even if you're going to do stand-up comedy, give yourself the necessary time to practice. Once you are more or less comfortable with your speech, go to the next step. Practice in front of your friends, family, co-workers, classmates, in front of your dog, although this last one might not be very effective. Whoever you feel is the right person. Practice in front of a mirror, add background noise and practice. This helps you to really test yourself if you're comfortable enough with your speech and keeps you prepared for possible murmuring or distractions while you talk. Remember that your speech is designed to give something to your audience. You can add some sense of humor. Without overdoing it, it is always appreciated. Know your audience. Your speech will be different depending on who you're giving it to. Family, friends, children, or for your final thesis. Engage with your audience. It doesn't have to be one-way or self-centered talk. Ask questions. Tell the audience to raise their hands. Have them participate. Create rapport with your audience. There's a whole science about body language, eye contact, positioning your body, hand movements, pauses, vocalization, and so on. But I'll probably make a different episode for that one. So, in short, feel comfortable about yourself. Don't judge or be let down if someone in the audience isn't paying attention, seems bored, or anything else of the sort. If you put yourself into the shoes of an audience member, you might be doing this too. So, understand people's perspectives and move on. You cannot please every single member of the public. You will, however, attract the attention of most of the audience. So let's do a quick overview. Out of all the fears, public speaking is the number one fear. Improving public speaking is all about practice. Instead of breathing from your upper chest, try to breathe from your diaphragm and relax yourself. Focus on one main idea with secondary ideas linking back to it. Don't think about what people are thinking of you. Accept that being nervous is normal. Welcome it. Think about the value you're giving to the public. Apart from listening to others giving you tips, you should disconnect and practice by yourself. That is the best way to learn. Practice in front of your friends, your family, in front of a mirror, with background noises. This will all reinforce your speech capability. And finally, engage with the audience. Captivate their attention. So, take some notes and start practicing. Forget about researching further. Put yourself to the test, which in the end is all that matters. My words are a simple guide. What really matters is if you're going to practice. Add or remove these tips, shape them to your preferences, and make that your own and ultimate guide for public speaking. Thanks for listening, and good luck. Until next time.